Hey, today we're gonna talk about my top 1 favorite of Japanese makeup in every category. Let's just get started right away. First is sunscreen. This is actually belong to skincare category. It's technically not makeup, but I do think choose the right type of sunscreen is important for your makeup application, because I find a lot of sunscreen will make your makeup look weird. And this one is the Biore. It's pronounced Biore in Japan. Biore UV Aqua Rich. And this is pretty much a gel consistency. It might look like it had a hair of white cast at first, but once you rub it in, at least on my skin, I cannot tell any white cast. This might be one of the only chemical sunscreens that don't leave a white cast whatsoever among all of the sunscreens that I have tried a lot. That's definitely more than like 10, maybe even like 20, 30 or something like that. And also, there are a lot of good high-end sunscreen as well. But I do feel like for sunscreen, you don't have to pay that much unless there's like another reason for it. For example, there's some tinted sunscreens that you can use as your tinted moisturizer, which I feel like in that way it can make the price kind of reasonable. But if you are just using like as a sunscreen, I don't think drugstore product will do. You can get something that is just as good for cheaper price, and you're gonna use this thing like very quickly. And also, I find a lot of drugstore brand actually offer more product. Like high-end product, it usually contains around 30 to 50 grams of product, and this one is literally 105. And a lot of drugstore sunscreens have about like 80 grams, and it's like not even $10. So yeah, let me hydrate my lips a little bit. And this is the Visee Essence Lip Plumper, and in the shade SP001. This is basically a Dior Lip Maximizer dupe, and I do think it is like truly a dupe. It's super similar. I don't even think I can tell that much of a difference when I apply it on my lip. I just feel like the Dior one probably has a little bit more tingling effect. I don't really use primer, but I do want to talk about one particular primer that I really liked in the past. This primer is from the brand MAQuillAGE. I'll put like a picture or something like that here. And this is basically for oil control and long lasting. It's not like a pore filling primer or anything like that. When I was oilier than right now, I do find it makes my makeup, especially for foundation, last longer, and my T-zone a little bit less oilier, and it's not drying. So I do feel like that's a good option if you do want to use some sort of oil controlling primer or like long lasting kind of primer. And it's not the kind of primer that Western brand does for long lasting, which is like the gripping primer, right? It's the opposite of that. It's like a very smooth, non-sticky formula. But there's one thing. That product has a little bit like brightening kind of like coloring in it. So if you have deeper skin tone, I'm not sure if you can like if that's gonna look weird on you or not. Unfortunately. For foundation, I have literally talked about this for like maybe more than 2 years. It's the SUQQU, the cream foundation. My favorite powder foundation will be the SUQQU powder foundation. So their foundations just work so nicely for me. Like I have never used a powder foundation that's this smooth on my skin. It literally looks like I just applied a very smooth liquid foundation and used like somewhat of powder on it, and it's still glowy. Because why I think this is so special is because I have tried a lot of powder foundation in the past as well, but I always find that they don't sit right on my skin. Like they emphasize my pores, and they sometimes even stuck into my pores, and it almost like most of them look very heavy, but this does none of that. Like I always prefer a liquid foundation because a liquid foundation can look more like smooth. It doesn't really stuck on your pores or look heavy as much as a typical powder foundation. But this one really, like I said, it just looks like I applied a very smoothing liquid foundation and set with some powder and still leaving some very pretty glow. So yeah, I really recommend this if you are interested in powder foundation. And also, believe it or not, their Japanese brand, they have a lot of good powder foundations. I don't know if anybody agree with this, but I do feel like their powder foundation, the powder is more like fine than the Western brand. When I use Western powder foundations, I always feel like they are not adhering on my skin. Kind of just sits on the top and it doesn't really cover anything because of that. Because it just sits on top, it doesn't like melt into the skin. Well, other Japanese powder foundations, like I mentioned before, it doesn't look like 100% right for me either, but at least they don't look like absolutely disgusting or like super like just sitting on this top of the skin, like never covers anything. It doesn't look like that. Most of them just look kind of heavy and maybe like stuck into my pores a little bit. So here are two other options that I think, even though they are not comparable to this, but it's a little cheaper and they are like the best powder foundations out there other than this one. So one is again the same brand as the primer, MAQuillAGE. I find this brand just does primer and powder foundation really well. And their powder foundation, the color range is a little bit better than other Japanese brands because they probably have more than like just 2 shades. But again, it's like it's just purely for like made for Asian people. So I feel like if you are more than a medium or you are super pale, you probably won't be able to find your shade. But if you are from light or like fair light to like medium, if you're in this range, and especially if you are like warm skin toned, I do think you can find a very nice shade from them. And I also do think you might enjoy that if you don't have like very big pores like I do. So the other one is from the brand Benefique. This is a brand under, I believe under Shiseido. The MAQuillAGE brand is under the Shiseido umbrella as well. So basically, I feel like if you come to Japan and you look at all these different brands, half of them are probably from like Shiseido, and about other half is probably from Kanebo, and the rest of them is just like a very little amount of like actual indie brand. Okay, the Benefique one, I have recommended this to several friends and they all enjoyed it. They think it's like great, and I have used that a lot as well. And I think that probably sits the second place after this SUQQU one. But today we're gonna use the cream foundation. For this foundation, it's just so nice because it never emphasizes your texture, which I find foundation tend to do that. If you really have like texture, it really, rather than covers it, most foundation just emphasize it. But I find this foundation never does that. It's always, I can't say it 100% covers the texture, but I do feel like most of the time it minimizes the texture, that it makes it less visible. But today I feel like my skin is like on the better side. Other than I didn't sleep well last night, my pores are super big. Like anybody feel the same way when they didn't sleep right last night. The next day you have like super big pores. So this sponge is not like a favorite or anything like that because I just bought this. I just bought this from Daiso, so I'm just trying this for the first time. I mean, there's one thing about these like affordable sponges, because this is literally less than $1, so it's super affordable, is that they absorb so much foundation. Like, can you see that? Those spots? The more expensive one, the Beauty Blender one, or actually even the Morphe one, doesn't absorb this much. So for this side, I'm just gonna blend with my finger just a little bit. I find this way the sponge absorbs less of it. Yeah, I feel like this time it doesn't absorb as much. I really don't have a favorite concealer because I just feel like I'm not a super big concealer fan. The concealer I actually buy are all the concealers that I prefer them to use as my foundation, but I don't want to commit to a full bottle of 30 ml of foundation, so I just bought a concealer that has like a large amount of product for a concealer, like more than 10 ml. Basically I'm buying them for the purpose to buy a mini bottle of foundation. So that's why I bought the Dior one, because that's, I believe it's like about 12 ml for the container. And that's also why I bought the Armani one, because that formula is basically the same as the Luminous Silk foundation, but a little more like lighter, and also the concealer has like about 12 ml of product, which is basically just a mini foundation size, right? Yeah, whenever I use foundation, I typically don't really use concealer, and when I'm using concealer, I'm just using them as foundation, so I don't layer them. So this will do. It's not perfect. You can still see some of discoloration peeking through, but I don't really care about that. For powder, I'm showing you this powder. This powder is probably like second favorite. This is the SUQQU Sheer Loose Powder. This powder is very good because the good thing about this is it just sets your skin. It doesn't make your foundation look glowier or like super matte. It doesn't disturb your foundation, of course, and it doesn't make your base look heavy. It just looks like you applied nothing, but your foundation just lasts longer and it's like set, it won't move around. So if you are looking for a powder that's like super blurry, this one is probably not for you. But if you are like me, you like those powder that basically looks like it did nothing but set the foundation, but it doesn't disturb the foundation, if that makes sense. Like I said, it doesn't really like minimize your pores that much, but it just sets your foundation and you cannot tell there's powder on your face. Other powders, they might look like super blurring, but you can see the powder. Like no matter how fine the powder is, you can just see it. But this powder is like, you just can't see it on your face. It just looks like your skin is not as shiny, but it also looks like there's nothing on your skin. Why this is on the second place is, like I said, it doesn't do much blurring, even though it looks like almost undetectable. The first place is the powder from 3. but I used up the whole powder and I don't want to purchase anything new before I finish all my powders. But yeah, that one was my top 1 favorite. That one was super blurring. It still doesn't look heavy, like it doesn't look so super powdery, but I think I can tell that powder a little bit more than this one. But that one is just so blurry and it's so long wearing. I just love that one. I think maybe if I one day finished all my setting powders, I'll repurchase that one. Okay, for eyebrows, there really isn't that much eyebrow product in my collection anymore, and I have been using the same thing for years. Like maybe not years, but at least 2 years. Japanese eyebrow product are super nice, have super nice colors and formulas, especially if your hair color is on the cooler side, or like if you have black hair. I find their like darker shades eyebrow products usually have very nice colors, like undertones. Like I feel like this powder just blends with my hair, like not only my other eyebrow hair but also my overall the hair on my head. And this is from the brand Addiction. It's a pressed dual eyebrow in the shade 01. It's like a 2 color in one, and you can tell I have hit pan on it. And the thing is, with eyebrow powder, I use this for like more than 2 years, and this is my progress. I think this little thing can last me easily 5 years. Those eyebrow pencils, especially the very thin one, like the one like the Anastasia Brovis, that thing, I feel like if you really use that every day, you probably can go through one for each month. And who have the money for that? I don't. Like this one is probably under $20 and I can use it for like 5 years. But if you do like those very thin eyebrow pencils, I recommend you to check these two. So one is from the brand Shiseido. They have like a very thin tipped eyebrow pencil, and it's pretty cheap. I don't know, $4 or $5, maybe even under that. And there's another one from the brand Kate. I don't know if they changed their packaging, but yeah, the one I have, I bought this years ago, looks like this. I think you can tell it's like a very thin eyebrow tip. You can check yourself. I think that's about 1.5 millimeter. You can draw like very thin little stroke. I feel like mine are a little bit like dried up. And also, there's one thing about Japanese eyebrow pencils is that they don't show up on your bare skin that much in general. Even though this might be like a little bit because of this dried, I probably had this more than 5 years. But also, it's really, some of them just more pigmented on your eyebrow if you draw on your eyebrow, even though you're technically drawing on the skin under your eyebrow, but somehow that way it's just more pigmented. And if you don't know, there is a very well-known eyebrow pencil from Shurimura. That pencil, literally, it won't show any color if you just like draw on your bare skin. But if you draw on your like eyebrow, it really shows up its color. So I think that's one thing I feel like it's kind of amazing, because even though you can get pigmentation, but it's hard to fill, right? Because you just can't have too much pigmentation on your bare skin. That's that. The Shiseido one is thinner than this Kate one. So if you want the thinner one, check that one. For eyebrow mascara, I just don't think I am the right person to speak on that. First of all, I don't have much experience. Second of all, my hair is like super hard, like on my eyebrow. Like my hair on my head or like on my body, they are all so soft. But just this hair, just eyebrow hair, is the only place that I have the super thick and hard hair. So they don't really move that much. So I don't find need for me to use eyebrow gels, eyebrow mascaras. And also, I feel like a lot of Japanese eyebrow mascaras, they are more for the purpose of change the color of your eyebrow hair other than put them into place. At least that's what I am understanding for all these years looking at Japanese people applying their makeup. Okay, for eyeshadow, I have 4. Oh, actually, I lied, I have 5. So for high-end, is obviously this SUQQU one. The powder is so fine and it blends seamlessly on your skin, and I don't know, I just love this formula because I think it's the kind of pigmentation that I need. I don't find me like really want to reach for the super pigmented formulas because I feel like a lot of time it can go overboard super quickly, where this one is so easy to blend and it's hard to go overboard, and it's easy to just build the pigmentation. You can build it up. It's not like you can only get one level of pigmentation. But since this one is so expensive, I have a couple drugstore ones. I said one product for each category, but there's a reason why. Here's 4. This one is from CanMake. It's the Juicy Pure Eyes in the shade 11. This one is for the shimmer shades and this glitter. This shimmer shades looks like nothing special whatsoever, but at the same time it's somehow special. I can't describe it. I feel like it has every shade of brown in it. It looks warmer on the camera, but in real life it's not too orangey, but it's not too pinky, but it's also not too like cool tone, like grayish. It's like a mix of all of the different shades of brown and create this shade. And this glitter is so bright as well. It's like a big chunky glitter. I think you can kind of tell that. And it's super affordable. And this is for the matte shades. This whole line is like all matte or satiny matte. It's a CanMake Perfect Multi Eyes. This is in the shade 03. I really find this is really easy to control, really easy to build the pigmentation, very easy to blend, and they have so many different undertones, different theme for every shade of this little palette. And I really feel like you have every shade of matte you would need in this little palette. So yeah, as you can see, I heat pan on it, which is very rare for eyeshadow. I almost never heat pan on eyeshadow. This is the Cezanne Tone Up eyeshadow in the shade 07, Red Brown. This one, I feel like it's for this kind of warm toned burgundy color. I don't know why, I just love this center shade so much. Every time I apply it on my eyelid, it just looks different than any other burgundy that I ever had. I feel like a lot of burgundy, they are either too deep, like it's almost a smoky eyeshadow look, or they're too red. It's more of like a maroon, reddish color, where this one I think it's a nice on the more natural brown side of a burgundy, and it's just right amount of red. I think it's just because it's a Japanese brand, so they know Asian people's skin color, Asian people's preference, so I think they can do like better than Western brand for Asian people. I feel like this color would be very universal for any skin tone. And even if you have dark skin, I do feel like this can work for you. These are all like pearly finish kind of eyeshadows, which I find the pearly, like very smooth kind of shimmer finishes look so beautiful on dark skin tone. And this one, technically it's a Western brand, it's Rimmel, right? But this palette, they only have in Japan. At least only in Asia, I believe. And this 5 shades, I can use them all. I love this shade for highlight. I love this shade for the Tom. I like use this shade like in a very specific way. I use the Tom Ford cream eyeshadow in the shade Sphinx, and I layer this on top. And I don't think you can tell, but this is more like the baked kind of formula, so it's a little domed. And this literally had a big dent, if you can tell, compared to the other shades. That's how much I have used this one. And all of the color just have such a great formula. It's so finely milled. The pigmentation is in the middle where I prefer. You can build them up. You can also blend them in a sheer finish very easily. And this is the Rimmel Chocolate Sweet Ice in the shade 002. They have a lot of different color of these as well, but this shade is just my favorite. So which one we will use today? Let's use this season one, because I think I haven't used this one for quite a long time. Actually, today I should be at work, and I actually went to the office, but midday I just feel so sick. I don't even know why. Like, I mean, I do know why, because I just really don't want to work last night. Like, thinking I have to work today just really disturbed me last night, that I couldn't even sleep very well. Which sounds so dramatic, but I feel like that happens to people, right? Like everybody, especially for people that you're not working for yourself, you're working for like a corporation, a corporation job. I think it is very relatable that you don't want to work the next day. So I think me feeling so sick today, one of the reasons is just I didn't sleep well last night. I probably fall asleep about 2 or 3 in the morning. Somehow I wake up at 6, which is the worst feeling. Like, I can wake up like at the latest 9. Like, for me to not be late to be in my office, I could be like wake up in 9. So me waking up at 6 is just too much, especially I only fell asleep 3 in the morning. And I just tried to go back to sleep, but I don't think I actually did that. I think I just like closed my eyes, and a lot of weird thoughts, or I don't know if those are weird thoughts or just half awake, half dreaming kind of thing. Like, and then I opened my eyes, it's like 8. Already don't really want to go even before I clock in. And when I arrived, I just feel like so nauseous. I just don't want to be there anymore. I just want to go home and rest. But the moment I took a leave from the office and I actually left there, the nauseous, the feel sick thing just fixed right away. Even though I still feel like super sleepy and tired, but I feel way more like energetic right now. And I actually planning to go for dinner with my friend. So I really feel like a lot of times when I'm feeling like sick, I'm not actually sick, I just don't want to go work. Like, it seems nobody wants to work these days. I am one of those people that just don't want to work. And I feel like my feelings are valid. Because I'm not working for myself even though I receive salary. But we are not working for ourselves. We are working for the corporate. We are maybe even working for the government. But we, for sure, we're not working for ourselves. So I feel like as long as you are like doing okay, it's okay if you take a leave once in a while to basically focus on yourself and try to basically just relax and enjoy some of your life, because our work is not our everything. Because sometimes I just feel like how depressing our life is. Like all of the meaningful time, 5 days out of a week, all of the meaningful times in those days are taken from us. Today, when I'm back from the office, I took the train, the subway. If you don't know, in Japan, the subway was not always under the ground. They have some of them like above the ground as well, and the one where I take regularly is the one that above. You can see the sunlight. And today I just saw a very, very beautiful view, like a very, very beautiful sunlight view from the window. And I just feel like we're missing that scene, that view, 5 days a week. We are locked into our office that don't even have natural lights most of the time. So yeah, I just feel like even though we have to do these jobs for a living, but at the same time, take your leave and enjoy your life. Okay, I think the eyeshadow is nice. Like I'm just going out with my friend. I'm not trying to go anywhere and doing a dramatic look. Also, I feel like it's kind of hard to do a very dramatic look with Japanese eyeshadows, at least. Like of course with eyeliners you can go as extreme as you want, but with eyeshadows it's really hard to do a very extreme look. So the eyeliners I'm using is this XL Perfect eyeliner. It's like a 3-way eyeliner. There is eyeshadow, a gel eyeliner, and a liquid eyeliner. I love this one is because there's 3 ways you can use it. It basically all perform like at least okay. Gel eyeliner is not the best one I have used, but it certainly is nice enough for me to use. I usually just prefer to have like this one item instead of a million, right? I just basically fill in the lash line with this side, and I draw the wing with the other side. I literally had this pencil for more than 5 years. I probably shouldn't use it. I probably should purchase a new one because it's gross. It's near your eye, but it still works. And this liquid side is just so nice. Like it's a brush tip and it never dries. Like I said, this is like more than 5 years and it's still going strong. And it's such a thin tip, and the ink is not overly pigmented. Weird enough, I don't really love those super intense eyeliners because I feel like it just doesn't look right on my eyes. Probably because my feature, I'm Asian, I don't have like strong features, so the super strong colors might just look weird on my eyes. Like I never find myself like a super peach black, the blackest black kind of eyeliners. I always just like these still pigmented but have some sort of sheerness kind of eyeliner. So the next is gonna be mascara, and I have 2. again, I said one for each category, but these two are literally two different kind of finishes. Cezanne Lasting Curl Mascara. It is a very, very natural mascara. It's basically almost like a tinted moisturizer for your eyes. It basically just tints your eyelash and make them longer and stand out a little bit more. But it doesn't clump. It doesn't give you a lot of volume or a lot of length, but just enough. Like, I feel like for right now you can barely see my eyelash, but this can make you to be able to see my eyelash. But they still look natural, but they look good. And this one is the Can Make Quick Lash Curler. This one, it's still a natural mascara. It's not like super intense, but I do feel like this is more volumizing. It's not like the typical way of volumizing. Like, you can think about the doll. The doll eyelash is kind of that kind of formula. Like, it makes your eyelash thicker and look stronger. Let's like apply this side by side so that you can see the difference. I don't know if you can tell. This side I applied a layer of this more natural one, this Cezanne one, and this side has no mascara. I think you can tell this side is like way more standing out, but it's not like clumpy in any way. It just looks more like a little more intense than your bare eyelash. So now let's apply the Can Make one on the other side. Can you tell the difference? This side is the Can Make one. I think, even though this one is not like clumpy, super intense, dramatic, or like things like that, I do think this one is like slightly stronger than the other one. But if you do like the super like volumizing, super intense, dramatic eyelash, I recommend you to try these two. I have to say, like, with Japanese mascaras, you probably will never get those like super clumpy, super strong, intense kind of eyelashes. I believe like Asian people just more like the eyelash to be separated, not those like spider legs kind of look. So I feel like if you love those, probably Japanese mascaras now, like, you cannot get it from the Japanese mascaras. But if you do want more volume, I do think these two are good. The best thing about these are they don't really budge that much at all. Like my eye, I don't know why, I think my eye is just so oily, so almost every mascara just smudges on my eye. So, but this rarely does. Sometimes it does when I'm wearing a mask for a long time in a very hot environment. Then it's like I am breathing and the heat goes up, make it smudge. But if I'm not doing that, normally it doesn't smudge that much, at least. The ones I'm recommending for the volume, they do smudge a little bit on me, but still better than a lot of Western mascaras that I've tried. So I do feel like if you are not super oily on your eye area, they won't budge on you as well. And this one, because it's so budge proof, it's kind of hard to take off. This brand sells a separate mascara remover for their own eyelash mascara, but that one actually works for other mascaras as well. So if you have some like waterproof mascara or anything like that that's super hard to remove, I recommend you to try that remover. It's super easy to use. It's just like applying mascaras. You just like kind of like massively apply a little bit on your eyelash. You wait maybe 1 minute. When I was using that, I always just like some cleanser remover on my face to melt my face makeup. And by the time my face makeup is melted and the mascara will come off, will be removed by that remover. You can literally see it melt under your eye, and yeah, with that it's like really easy to remove any sort of mascara. So if you do find a lot of mascara that you like hard to remove and it's like you're just so annoyed by that, I recommend you to try that. So the next will be bronzer, but I just don't really like Japanese bronzers because first of all, they usually what they are using it for is like for contouring. They want like a slimmer face or a slimmer nose. And my skin tone is just so olive. I find those very cool toned contouring powders just look super muddy on my face. I don't like those. And for the warmer undertoned ones, it doesn't look right on me as well. So the formula here for those powders are super nice. So like I'm not complaining about that. I just feel like it's not for my skin tone. There isn't recommendation on that. So for blush, let's just go straight into blush. The high-end one, I'm not even sure should I say this one because this is discontinued sadly. A part of the ingredient of this is hard to find, so they find it's hard to continue to produce this product, so they had to basically get rid of it. But this is literally my favorite formula of blush, so I'm actually kind of sad. Yeah, at least I have this one and it's super pigmented. I think this one, even if I use it every day, I probably won't finish it in 3 years. So even though I'm sad, I'm okay for now. Since this one is discontinued, let's show another one for you. It's this one. It's the Can Make Matte Fleur Cheeks. This is in the shade 05. It's a super finely milled powder and it's a matte finish. They have like shimmery glowy finish as well, but I just love this matte one. And you can adjust the kind of tone you like by mixing the center shade with the shade around them. If you want it lighter, just go more this way. If you want more of like a pinky, like lighter but pinky shade, you can go this way. Every time I just like kind of like stab my brush like that and apply it. I really like this one. I feel like the formula, the color are both super nice. But in Japan there are a lot of amazing blushes. Basically it's hard to find something that doesn't really work, like that's super crap. And for highlight, currently I don't have that one, but is again from the brand Cezanne. That brand has a highlight that's super blinding, but the powder is so fine and they have different undertones, so I feel like you can really find a shade that you would like if you like those intense kind of highlight. But for today, I'm using this Rimmel eyeshadow palette. I just love this shade, this top shade for highlights. I rarely use this shade for eyeshadow actually. I don't know if you can tell the finish. It's not too gold, but it's also not too like whitish, like icy kind of color. And I think it's glowing enough, but it's also not too intense that is hard to control. That's also one of the reasons why I love this palette so much, because I can also use it as highlight. Apply a little bit on the corner. I mean, since we are here, why not apply a little bit more glitter from this palette, since I already showed the glitter, how amazing the glitter is. Oh, no, I have another glitter topper that I wanted to show you. Okay, sorry. It's this SUQQU Tone Touch Eyes in the shade 12. This glitter is actually a different formula than the glitter that's in their eyeshadow palettes. This is a way more chunky, like high shine kind of formula. It's very much like the Western kind of glitters. Like maybe hard to tell on the camera. I mean, this Chemic one is just way more chunkier and shinier, but this one is very chunky and shiny as well. Let's just apply a tiny bit. I just want like a light, like top coat. Right? I love this glitter. For lips, my lip is pretty moisturized by the Lip Plumper we applied. But what color should we use? Because I do have favorite for different kind of purpose. So there are these two. This one is the Etude Lip Edition. If you can hear, it just randomly started to ring very intensely. I just love their formula. It's I have their lip treatment that I use to hydrate my lips before bed, basically. And this is the same formula but with color. So that's why I like it. I basically just love the formula. It's just so hydrating for your lips. And they have several colors. I just choose this kind of nudie rosy kind of color. Not much different than my actual lip color, just a little bit color and a little bit deeper, but it's just super moisturizing. If you have chapped lips and you want a super moisturizing gloss, this one I think will do. And it has 10 grams of product, so basically more than a lot of gloss you can find in the market. I actually just bought this for like 2 months maybe. I'm mostly talking about this formula. It's like a sheer lip tint plus tinted lip balm kind of thing. It will tint your lip just slightly. It won't leave a very intense tint. And it won't dry out your lips like a lot of tinted lip product will do. Can you see the super mild tint? Actually, for me, that's enough. And I also think they probably are intended to be this way because Japanese people just don't like super intense makeup. I mean, of course, I'm like generalizing. There are a lot of different kind of makeup style here. Like one of the style is called gyaru. The gyaru makeup, it's so intense. Okay, it's so freaking intense. But I do feel like a lot of people doing those kind of makeup, they are doing it with Western makeup items. And there also is a makeup style called jilaike. It's basically, the meaning of the name is like bomb makeup. I don't know where they come from, but I think it's probably because the makeup is like so dark. It kind of like a bomb in your face. I don't know. That's my understanding. But I think that sort of makeup is more about the intense eyeliners, like emphasize on the eyes, but it's not like so intense of a color, like a colorful color, right? So yeah, I do think in general, other than those intense makeup, like everyday people walking on the street, I rarely see them with a very intense lip color. I already feel like this color is probably pretty intense for them already. So a lot of times I can see people like maybe dab the color away a little bit, and they just apply lip gloss on top of the tint. So yeah, that's today's video. That's my top 1 makeup favorites from Japanese beauty brand. Thank you for watching. Bye.